North Carolina State, yes, NC State, is an ACC champion in basketball for the first time since 1987. The first time in 37 years. And yes, I was wrong. Kevin Keatts is a winner. Before the ACC tournament tipped off this year, I was 100% positive NC State would be a first or second round exit and Keatts was about to be unemployed. And I'm glad to have been wrong. But I see a lot of people saying I should delete that take. What a terrible take. And I honestly believe all the way up until the clock hit 0 at the end of the ACC title game against UNC, Keatts' job may still have been at stake. NC State isn't just a team that only celebrates making the tournament. And even with a close loss to UNC, NC State might not even been an NIT team still at that point. This is a team that wins titles, clearly. They won one this year. And they hadn't done that since the 80s until this point. I think the sentiment I was expressing in that last video before the ACC tournament is also what makes this so historic. This was a team with zero expectations, an impossible path, and by all accounts a lame duck coach at the time. And they did what NC State does best: survive and advance.
It's down to 7 seconds. You can see the time. Wittenberg, it's a long ways. 2 seconds. He's got to put it up. And he wins it with the jumper. To the court with Archie Diacono. 3 seconds at midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship.
NC State had finished the regular season out on a 4-game losing streak, including losses to FSU, and then UNC, Duke, and Pitt. The game against Louisville felt like it could have gone either way from the start. Louisville and NC State both had disappointing seasons. Both coaches were probably checking over their resumes trying to see where they could end up next season. State did win their head-to-head matchup in the regular season and was a better team on paper if they showed up to play. But with 3 minutes and 51 seconds left in the game, the score was still NC State 78, Louisville 77. Honestly, 4 minutes left in the game and it could have gone either way to a Louisville team that was bottom of the conference. Louisville just couldn't stay out of their own way. They kept putting State on the free throw line over and over and over and over again, where they went 33 for 40 from the line. Louisville had a higher field goal percentage, a much higher three-point percentage, but their undisciplined defense led to their downfall. And NC State did pull this off without star DJ Horn, who was out with injury for this game. And with that win, NC State was off and running. Yes, they were favored heavily in the game against Louisville. But I'm sure most fans would not agree that not only did it feel like a toss-up, with the score that close with 4 minutes left, you expect some NC State shit. Looking ahead, NC State had Syracuse next. And if we cheat a little bit and look at the full picture, in hindsight, it was Syracuse, UVA, Duke, and UNC on the slate still. And if we put that in kind of a perspective from a state team, they're about to play teams who, since NC State's last ACC title in 1987, were all national champions. Louisville won the national championship in 2013, Syracuse in 2003, UVA in 2019, and Duke in that span won the title in 91, 92, 2001, 2010, and 2015. And then finally sitting at the end of the road like a boss of a major role-playing game was UNC, who not only had national titles in 93, 05, 09, and 2017, but had defeated NC State in their last ACC title appearance back in 2007. And only one other school in the history of college basketball has won 5 games in 5 days to win their conference, and that was UConn with Kemba Walker in 2011. And the funny thing is, UConn kind of did a reverse run here from NC State, where in the semifinals of their conference, they played Syracuse and then Louisville in the title game. And NC State obviously started with Louisville and then played Syracuse. Ties into history a little bit. But still, that's 5 games in 5 days against 5 former national title winning teams. And in reality, yes, it's 4 really good teams on the horizon and one really bad Louisville who they just struggled to beat. After a tight first half against Syracuse, NC State finally pulled away to win handily. DJ Horne had returned to the team. He added 16 points all in the second half. Michael O'Connell, who wasn't a volume scorer all year, really came on this week. After adding 16 points against Louisville, he repeated, adding another 16 against the Orange. Mohamed Diarra, who by the way was fasting all day during the tournament due to Ramadan, really came alive. As soon as he was able to break the fast, he could be seen on the sideline just scarfing down applesauce, smoothies, whatever else he could eat for energy really quickly. Honestly, serious credit to the NC State training staff for getting him ready to play at that level, considering he wasn't eating from sunup to sundown. Diarra would pull in 14 rebounds during the Syracuse game, and over this run would really come alive as a defender. And I haven't mentioned Jaden Taylor or DJ Burns yet, but to this point in the run, I feel like they just performed as they needed to. And that's the thing with this team. We have a lot of guys at the end of their college careers. No NCAA tournament was lined up after this. They probably weren't making the NIT. And the coach all these guys clearly love is just fighting for his job. These are all moments where poor decisions could tank a run. Guys could force shots, play hero ball, frustration plays. But time and time again, this team just held it together. You had a group of guys who just fell into their roles and played it to perfection. After a 21-4 run early in the second half, State never looked back. And yeah, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. And after Syracuse beat State twice this year, and the Wolfpack were only 1.5-point dogs, they were ready. Then State lined up against Duke, who was a 10.5-point favorite. NC State hung in there in this game more than I ever expected them to. Filipowski got his, 28 points, 14 rebounds. But the Duke bench added 0 points. And the Pack held McCain and Roach well behind their season averages. NC State closed out the half strong for a 35-32 advantage, then scored the first 6 points of the second half. After that, Duke trailed the entire second half. And to some, it probably felt like they had it in the bag, but the Wolfpack faithful, they knew some NC State shit was coming. With 30 seconds left, Ben Middlebrooks bangs a wide-open dunk off the back iron and hangs on the rim while trying to grab the ball. And he successes a technical foul. A free throw for Duke, 2 missed free throws for Diarra, a Filipowski layup later, and hits a 3-point game. But Filipowski fouled out with 15 seconds left. Horne made his free throws, stretching the score to 73-69. This is the earliest Duke has exited the ACC tournament, not counting the cancellation, since 2016. Then came the UVA game. After a hard-fought game, it was all but over for the Wolfpack. The score is 58-55. Isaac McNeely was lined up on the free throw line to make it a 2-score game, and he missed the front end of the 1-and-1. Casey Morsell rebounded the ball, fed it to O'Connell, who rushed the ball up the sideline and shot from in front of his team's bench, and the shot banked off the glass, rolled around the rim, and dropped. Tie game. Then in overtime, it was the DJ Burns Jr. show. Time and time again, State would give the ball to the 6'9", 275-pound post player who would slowly back his way down as his defender repeatedly bounced off him, and Burns scored 7 points in overtime and 19 in the game. A strategy that if you told me about it before it happened, I would have said that would lead to a UVA win. But it didn't. It worked over and over again. I know fans have said for years, if the offense ran through DJ Burns, it would be unstoppable. And tonight it was. Even Jordan Minor could not contain Burns' impact. And UVA's decision to typically leave Minor on an island against Burns hurt them. Once again, State was saved by the free throw. This time not by going to the line to shoot 40 of them, but by a missed one giving them a chance. And how about Michael O'Connell, who played out of his mind for State for much of this run, to bank such a clutch shot off a three. I mean, this play isn't going to be greater than that one from the national title in NC State lore, the one I open every video with. But this is definitely a top 5 shot for NC State. Maybe top 3 considering where this run ended up. And as for Diarra, he finished with 1 point short of a double-double as he contributed 9 points and 12 rebounds, and through 4 games he had grabbed an ACC tournament record of 46 rebounds, literally breaking the record before even getting to the final game. And I know how many other teams go on a run like this with this many games. Usually the teams with the better players start later in the week. But dang, Diarra. Then NC State closed the game out with a 40-26 advantage in points in the paint and a 20-3 advantage in bench points. Huge props to Ben Middlebrooks coming off the bench. And there it is at the end of the road. The juggernaut. The final boss. UNC. Of course it had to be UNC. It's always UNC. How many State fans can remember 2007 when they lost to UNC in the title game? Those UNC fans said stuff like, "You'll be back. You'll win one soon." We didn't, and we weren't. Here we are, 2024. And State's back for the first time. From the jump, NC State was in this game. The Wolfpack didn't play around offensively, getting the ball in the hands of the best players, Horn and Burns. Playing through that duo, NC State shot 55%. Burns got it done as a scorer and a facilitator with 20 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. And Horn pitched in with 29 points for the Wolfpack, including 16 in the second half before he fouled out. Mo Diarra capped off his stellar effort in the nation's capital with 11 points, 14 rebounds against the Tar Heels. He had a pair of double-double performances to aid Horn and Burns as the NC State X Factor. And Diarra finished with double-digit rebounds in 4 of NC State's 5 tournament games. RJ Davis had 30 points, Marnda Baycott 18 points, 10 rebounds. They did their part to carry UNC. But the Tar Heels can get much else from their supporting cast. Cadeau, Cormac Ryan, Harrison Ingram combined for 7 of 25 shooting. UNC missed 13 of 14 shots down the stretch, including 10 in a row. Diarra's defense really shined. And seriously, I gave Keatts a hard time about coaching, but he managed this roster so well. Horn picked up some early fouls, and he was able to manage him in all the offensive sets State needed him to, and then protected him on defense, swapping players like a chess match as fouls came throughout the game there in the later minutes. Plus, Burns was able to get all the breathers he needed. Diarra, even with fasting all day, was able to get the nutrition he needed to stay in the game. After going into the half trailing by 1, NC State went right back to work. By 14 minutes left in the game, State had built back the lead to 3 and then just never looked back. Their largest lead was 11 with 3 minutes left. By the time the clock hit 0, State had led for 38 minutes of the 40. Start to finish, this team played to perfection. As for Keatts, the ACC Tournament Championship is more than a title. It's job security. It's a payday. It triggered a 2-year extension in his contract, a $400,000 raise, a $100,000 bonus, and at least $25,000 for participating in the NCAA Tournament round of 64. This has felt like a team of destiny. This is a good team who just felt unable to capitalize on good moments all year. They had an okay season, but there's a reason that even going into the ACC title game, they were on the outside of the NCAA tournament looking in. And yet here they are, ACC champions. I was truly wrong about Keatts this year. I still believe that if they fell short of the ACC championship, we might be having a different conversation about this team, but we aren't. Seriously, if you look at the score with less than 5 minutes to go in the Louisville game, did you see this coming? Because I didn't. This is a run that's going to go down in history for NC State. This is a run that's going to be talked about like their runs in the 80s and the 70s. Coach Keatts' name will probably be there right in the conversation with Jimmy V. Survive and advance was the motto for NC State. And they survived and advanced. And honestly, it doesn't even feel like they're surviving. It feels like they're just advancing. They're just winning right now. Seriously, huge congratulations to North Carolina State on their first ACC title in 37 years. And seriously, as they set their motto for the NCAA title, going into the round of 64. Why not them?
A remarkable, astounding week for the North Carolina State Wolfpack, and let the celebration begin in Raleigh.